I'm Nick, your host. I won't be long. I'll make this quick. We're going to discuss this radio interview I listened to last week on SiriusXM Radio. I listened to his radio channel, The Clay Kane Show on SiriusXM Radio. The subject of the interview is to discuss why he didn't vote for VIP Harris, and what impacts resulted from this individual's vote and the individual's particular ideology. What he learned from this behavior. You'll find out if you learned anything, because it seems kind of hard-headed, like he didn't really learn anything. If you like the content, please subscribe, hit that like button, and click the notification bell so you'll be notified of future notifications of, and there it is. So, the host touched on uninformed, misinformed voters, and this is kind of like why we're where we are right now, because individuals were either not educated on the policy was going to be, not aware of what benefits VP Harris was offering, but were caught up in a lot of the negative ads that was put out by the Republican Party during the 24 election. So right now we're basically in that after round and find out stage right now. So the only thing about it is that we are the ones that are suffering along with those who either voted ignorantly or didn't vote at all. This individual's background on this interview. And I'm going to play some clips of the interview. Excuse me. I'm going to play some clips of the interview, and you get to hear what the individual was saying during the interview. But he has 6 years of military experience, 2 years of continual service with the as a civilian employee. He wasn't a government contractor. He was actually a government civilian employee. He was on probation for his recently acquired job, which was a cybersecurity infrastructure AI adoption specialist. He was doing this for approximately 6 months, and once the new administration came in, he was terminated. Part of the Doge cost cutting, fraud, waste, and abuse. He was terminated. He was rehired, and then placed on administrative leave. What's crazy is that this job was considered to be part of the fraud, waste, and abuse. This is a cybersecurity job dealing with AI. Cybersecurity is very important. AI is the new technology. Well, not new technology, but it's the growing technology that we have in this country. So why would you fire someone from that particular position? And I think that this individual felt the same way, that he felt safe that his particular position wasn't going to be terminated. So as you listen to this first soundbite, you will listen to what this individual is saying, and then this is what kind of pissed a lot of people off on how he was addressing so many things, and he kind of talks about it in a kind of nonchalant manner, as if, he's the smartest person out there, and you were trying to figure out why would you make such a critical decision in this particular election, because I know a lot of people have heard that, hey, this is the most important election of our lifetime. This was the most important election of our lifetime, because you can see the impact and the ramifications that are going on right now. I think the Hillary Clinton election was an important election as well, because if people would have went out and voted for Hillary Clinton, we would never had an opportunity for Trump to get in office a second time, because if he would have lost the first time, he'd have probably went on about his business, because he didn't really want to win the election. He would have went on and probably did some type of radio news station or channel or something to that effect. But let me go ahead and hit this first soundbite for you.
Served your country in the Army, and now you're serving your country again in the federal government. So I want to go through this a little bit. During the campaign with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, did you hear about his plan, Project 2025, to fire thousands of federal workers? Did you hear that at all?
I did not. Not in this way, right? I knew that there was going to be some downsizing. I know they had mentioned downsizing the federal government, and again, you have every right to do that in the executive branch. But there are laws in place to protect from the way in which this has been done. I think that, done efficiently and done effectively, done morally and done lawfully, we wouldn't be in such a reactionary posture. And so, yes, while I know that they wanted to re-identify, right, I do remember them trying to re-identify federal government workers to making them more politically appointed positions. Again, but there's still a process that goes with that. This isn't the effective way. This isn't the right way to go about doing that. And we've seen that, right? And so that's what we've been seeing playing out in the media, right? We've seen it playing out in different courtrooms and now up to the Supreme Court, is that things were done illegally.
So you didn't hear about they were going to fire from 55,000 to up to 2 million, especially people who they felt like had political affiliations. I mean, this guy went on MSNBC and talked about it. You didn't hear about that.
Not in that way. I knew that they were talking about downsizing.
Not in that way, yeah.
But not in given.
Jonathan, I want to ask you, what could I have done to reach someone like you to make sure that you heard that, or other federal workers? Because I felt like so many folks in media, they were yelling from the rooftops, but the message wasn't getting out there, or maybe Democrats failed to get that to everybody. Everybody should have heard about this.
So, if you listen to what he said that there were ways to terminate people as long as it was done lawfully and legally. If you read in between the lines, to me, what he is saying, he didn't think that these cuts were going to impact him because he felt that his job was too important to be cut. And you see that from what he's saying, he still hasn't really learned anything from the experiences that he's going through right now. And how can you be a government employee and not heard of Project 2025 when that's something that's been constantly being hammered in D.C.? He worked in D.C., so how could he not be aware or even heard of Project 2025 unless he just assumed that this is just another thing that's coming out and it's not that important? It's not something that's going to have an impact on society. It's something that's going to probably come by, be a little ruffling of the feathers, and then it'll be pushed to the side. This thing clearly stated exactly what they wanted to do. And it specifically said that they wanted to eliminate 1 million or up to 1 million jobs. Now, there's approximately 3 million people that work for the government. So if they're saying they're going to get rid of 1/3 of that workforce, wouldn't you be a little antsy to think that, hey, maybe I might be one of those people that get fired or get terminated? Unless you're so in your own little bubble that, no, it's not going to happen to me. And I'm pretty sure that this interview would never happen with this individual subject on this interview here if he would never got terminated. Now, he did get terminated and he was reinstated, but he's now on administrative leave. And also keep in mind, this guy is a military veteran. And there was also something in Project 2025 that talks specifically about military veterans. But let me let you hear another clip here, because he still doesn't seem like he really learned anything from this.
I'm going to ask you, what could I have done to reach someone like you to make sure that you heard that, or other federal workers? Because I felt like so many folks in media, they were yelling from the rooftops, but the message wasn't getting out there, or maybe Democrats failed to get that to everybody. Everybody should have heard about this. What way could that message have gotten to you and your colleagues?
For me personally, I'm a registered independent. So, a lot of the media in which I receive doesn't come from one side or the other. It's just, and a lot of it can kind of get watered down. So I think delivery of the message, again, unless it severely impacted them, I was more so concerned about things like Department of Education, right? I was more so concerned about like the impacts that it was going to have on HBCUs, because I'm a product of 2 HBCUs, right? Receiving my undergraduate at North Carolina A&T and my master's at Bowie State. So those are the things that were more so impacting me. So you were worried about that, impacting me. Again, even as a federal employee, the message essentially reaching me, I didn't feel like I fell under those categories because I had veterans preference, right? So I had all of these protections, and I'd already been in the federal government. So I knew that they were going to have a freeze, because that typically happens anyway, as far as like bringing on any new personnel actions. There was so much information, and again, I know they say that every election is the most pivotal election, known to man at that time, and it's very true. But there's so much information that's being shared.
Left the zone.
Left the zone. Yeah. Exactly. And so they but you, right? And so it's like, well, what's going to most impact you and your household? Being able to foreshadow some of those things, I found myself as impacted by that particular conversation as I was making sure that it's going to go back to the states. How do the states now influence their education system? We've already had a shortage of teachers. How do we increase and want to encourage others to get into the classroom? So those are the things that I was focused on.
That you were concerned about, yeah. Do you mind saying who you voted for? You don't have to if you don't want to. Do you mind saying?
I wrote my name in.
You wrote your name in.
I wrote my name in.
Election.
For the president. You know what? I could never serve as president because I was born in Panama, but I knew that I could do a better job with leading the American people because, again, it goes back to a man that has compassion understands his power, but a man that's only known power doesn't have compassion. For me,
there's also a saying that a fool and his money will soon part, and that's what happened with him. He lost his job. So if you listen to what he said, he never really answered the question, because what he was asked was, what could I have done to get you to vote for VP Harris? What could have been done? What could they have done to get you to vote for VP Harris? And then he actually sat there and said that he voted for himself. He's in a safe blue state. He's from the state of Maryland. So he's in a safe blue state. So he could do frivolous, silly stuff like that. However, how many people across the country took similar actions? How many people didn't vote at all? Now we're paying for all these little silly engagements of writing your name on the ballot. The individuals originally from Panama, so he wasn't even eligible to be elected president. But writing your name on the ballot, doing a protest vote, voting for third party when you know they couldn't win, and then he indicates, well, I'm a registered independent. So what? Even if a registered independent, you're going to choose one of the two major parties. More than likely, you're going to choose either a Republican or a Democrat. And since you just chose yourself, you pretty much just wasted a vote. And then you keep talking about there's so much information. I want y'all to keep that in mind. There was so much information, he couldn't handle all that information. This guy works in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is nothing but information. And to learn cybersecurity and to learn AI. I mean, these are not simple jobs. These are complicated jobs that deal with a lot of information. So now all of a sudden, there was too much information for him to decipher through. Now I think this guy is an intelligent person, just makes dumb decisions, but I think he is an intelligent person. Let's listen to this third soundbite here. This is a short one here.
Kamala Harris didn't move you, her plans for the middle class or anything like that, or it didn't resonate?
no, it didn't necessarily impact me one way or the other. Simply because, again, I understand the three levels of government. So, what matters to me is the local election, right? Making sure that I participate in my local elections and I make sure that I participate in those that are running for Senate and for Congress. And so we were able to vote in Senator Also Brooks out of PG County because the things in which she was going to help the people of PG County do, I think she would then have a voice and was able to be a representation of the people in PG County.
So you listen to that BS he just said and the hypocrisy he just said. He's seriously gaslighting us. He tried to compensate for his stupid vote, his protest vote, by saying that, well, I know about the three levels of government. I'm going to vote local because I wanted to make sure the local government, because that has the most direct impact on me. No, it didn't. The most direct impact that was on you was the president. The president is the one that fired you. Not Senator Alton Brooks. He didn't fire you. Those with the support of the president are the ones that fired you. That's why you don't have your job now. That's why you're on administrative leave now, because he's the individual that fired you. So how did he get to this point to where he decided that I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris? Because if you listen to the whole interview, like I said, it's on SiriusXM radio. You can listen to it, a rebroadcast of it. He gaslights all through this interview, and he also has a lot of hypocrisy. So this is how he got hooked. He got hooked by this particular thing right here, and this is what a lot of folks got hooked on.
Let me just ask you, if I'm getting too personal. We can change. I hear what you're saying, though, because I guess you're in a blue state. You're in Maryland, so you felt like it didn't matter. But I guess my larger question, because I don't work in D.C. I'm not a D.C. guy. I've never had a job in D.C. anything like that. But you are the kind of voter that Kamala Harris really was trying to appeal to and was trying to get. So regardless if it was going to impact, your state or not, did you vote for Obama or Hillary Clinton? Have you ever voted for a president before in your lifetime? You have. Okay. So why didn't you? What was it about her, regardless of you being in a blue state? Because in red states, they knew Trump was going to win. In West Virginia, they voted for Trump. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just curious to know, what was it about her that made you say, no, I'm not going to vote for this president?
I think it's the platform. And so when we have this type of conversation, I want to be reminded of the way in which the presentation was made to the American people, right? When the previous administration was in place and President Joe Biden, right, the Democratic Party had an opportunity to bring forth alternative options, right? But they were told pretty much essentially to stand down, that we were going to present Joe Biden as our representation of the Democratic Party. We knew that on the Republican side, yes, they still had their campaigns and, Trump came out victorious out of the Republican Party, but we weren't given those options on the Democratic side of the House. It was essentially Joe Biden and everyone else stand down. And then...
Well, because he was the incumbent. They always do that. The incumbent always has that, yeah.
Right. And so they typically have that, right? But yeah, I believe they also knew, as we come to find out down the line, he wasn't going to be able to make his way through the campaign season. And so we were given, an option in Kamala Harris. But she...
Now, what choice did we have? Joe Biden was kicked off the ticket 3 months before the election. There was no time for no mini primary. All that would have did was just made things even worse. It would have caused more confusion. It would have caused more chaos. So the only other choice that we had was Kamala Harris. I love his revisionist history. Because now the crap has hit the fan. And now he's trying to revise and trying to say, this is why, I felt this way about Kamala Harris. This is why I voted this particular way. You voted a particular way for one, because you said you would have voted for Joe Biden. If you'd have voted for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris would have been putting in the same type of policies as Joe Biden. So what was the real reason why you didn't vote for it? I mean, I already know off the top of my head, you didn't vote for it because she was a black woman. Even though you are a black man, you didn't vote for it because she was a black woman. I know you said you voted for Hillary Clinton, but Hillary Clinton is not a black woman. There's some other things that are going on with this individual in this interview. And he's about to reveal his stripes right now. It's more than just ignorance, but he's about to reveal his stripes right now. Let's listen to this clip here.
And so we were given, an option in Kamala Harris, but she didn't have the same opportunity to build her platform, right? To build what she was going to run on. Outside of, we had some sound bites, right? Some of the things that turned away a lot of people that are, I would say, conservative Democrats or, reserved independents or too far left, if that makes sense. Like what? Just curious, man. If I could pick one thing, I think it was the commercials that were shown talking about the tax dollars going for transition.
The trans issue.
Yeah, the transition, right?
But that was Trump's commercials.
Correct.
It was Trump's commercials against her around trans folks. But did you know that was a lie? That it was under Trump's administration that gave trans people access to surgeries when they were in prison. You didn't know that?
No, again,
and so they didn't debunk that lie. This is what I'm saying. That trans shit got people so much. They told a lie. What did Kamala Harris is for they, them, Trump is for you. But the New York Times the next day released an article saying they showed the memo under Trump's administration that allowed access for trans folks to have surgeries while in prison. But you see how slick it is, man? They did this shit back in the day with the welfare queen narrative, with the Willie Horton ad, and now they use trans people. Do you know any trans people? Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's just like, are they the ones that are going to fire you from your federal job?
So he fell for the isms instead of hisms. So he fell for the isms of the others and didn't fall for what isms that he needed. He didn't fall for what he needed. So he screwed himself to prove a point by saying that he didn't vote for Kamala Harris because of the transition issue, which was a Donald Trump approved policy. All she was doing was enforcing a law and policy that was already put in place by Donald Trump. Yes, I will say yes. VP Harris' campaign should have addressed it and said that, hey, this came from Trump. It didn't come from us. We're just following along with it. But he fell for the ism. And then he's going to say something. I got one more clip I'm going to play for you. He's going to say something that really pissed me off as to why he said he didn't vote for her was because he didn't like the transition. And I love that smug attitude. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely what? You're an absolute fool, an idiot, for voting for yourself instead of influence others to vote more responsibly. Because I'm pretty sure he has friends across the country that he could have probably said, hey, you probably should vote for VP Harris. Especially in those tight states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, New Mexico, all those places, North Carolina, that we could have probably had a chance to win. But let me play this one last clip for you real quick. I said it was going to be quick.
Because I want to know why someone like you, even if you're a blue state, why she didn't resonate, and it was an ad that was a lie that impacted you. At least one part of it. Go ahead, brother.
So, again, I look back at the definition of politics, right? That's winning over the hearts and minds. And it's also playing on the ignorance, right? Because a lot of people don't go back and do their research to understand that it was indeed the policy.
I'm going to stop it right there. Because what he just said, people don't go back and do their research. So, he didn't know that the trans procedures, medical assistance that was given to prisoners and inmates in jail, he didn't know that that was a Donald Trump policy. He heard it, that Kamala Harris, that Trump put out a advertisement saying that, or commercial indicating that Kamala's for them. He's not for you. So he didn't do any research to find out where that came from. He just went on his own individual biases and prejudice and a reason not to vote for VP Harris. So he said that particular commercial didn't play on him, but it did. Because that was his first reason as to why. Well, I think it was the second reason. The first reason was because he was a black woman. The second reason was he used that as an excuse because he didn't do any research. He said he wasn't influenced. He sounds ridiculous. So where do we go from here? Hopefully we go on without him. Because people like him are the ones that screwed us. And this is why we're still in the position that we're in now. Now, I didn't finish playing the clip. But let me go ahead and finish playing this clip. Let me let you hear this last part.
Of the former administration. But again, it wouldn't influence me, but I'm just speaking about on a massive scale of people, right? They're playing on that ignorance because a lot of people are not going to go back and do that research to know that indeed was a lie and that it was being manipulated and painting her in a bad light. But again, the larger issue here is what do we do now going forward, right? Because AI is going to be able to take over things and make things that are untrue seem as if they are true.
Well, let me ask you, Jonathan, do you think if Kamala Harris was president, do you think you would have lost your job?
I don't think that even with Trump being president that I should have lost my job, but
no, I don't know, but
the question was, if Kamala Harris was president, would you lost your job? And he couldn't just say no and leave it there. He had to go back into the cookie jar and say that he shouldn't have lost his job with Donald Trump. But you did lose your job with Donald Trump. Your poor decisions, your poor influencing of others is why we're in the position that we're in now. because he kept sticking with that same ideology, that conservative ideology, where he talked about the isms. He didn't like the trans getting the medical assistance. He didn't like that. He didn't like taxpayer money going for that. Well, the person who started that program is the person that's sitting in the Oval Office right now. And you, my friend, probably helped put him there. So, if you like this content, please subscribe, hit the like button, and click the notification bell for future notification. As always, I like to say thank you, and let's talk about it in the comment section. So, I enjoyed you listening to this conversation. I hope you got something out of it, and I look forward to sitting and talking with you again. Until then, peace.